That being said, thank you guys for joining with our webinar here today. My name is Ike Emedosi, the account executive here at Mission Control. If you have any questions, any at all, please go ahead and ask in the chat. I'll go ahead and make sure that I'm answering the questions to the best of my abilities. And of course, if we ever need a follow-up, I'll follow up with you directly. Or if it's towards the time constraint and I'm not able to answer live, I will make sure I answer after the presentation. So let's go ahead and get everything going. And as you can see, we have our coolest mascot here riding in the coolest rocket because Mission Control is taking you from point A to the moon. The sky's the limit, but we say the space is the limit. My name is Ike Emedosi, account executive. I've been with the Salesforce ecosystem for quite a while. And as you know, Mission Control is built natively on the Salesforce platform. So whatever you're used to on the Salesforce platform, customizability, adaptability, the scale, the growth, the upgrades, just the usage, you're going to be so familiar within Mission Control because again, we're native to Salesforce. So everything you're going to see here is going to feel really familiar. And that's going to be great. So start off with intro and Mission Control history, do a little bit of licensing, and then take it through the demo flow and whatnot. So a little bit background around Mission Control history. We had our wonderful CEO and his best mate, Chris. So Colin, our CEO, and Chris, they had an idea. They were Salesforce implementation partners, and they utilized this product more so in-house when it was very new, very fresh. They just utilized it within in-house to make sure that they're delivering those Salesforce implementations the right way. But as they saw the platform, as they really visualized and understood what Mission Control could do, they grew the product from not only timesheets, Gantt charts, and holidays, all those basic functionality in 2012 all the way to 2023, when we're constantly adding new features and adding and growing as our base grows and as our user count grows. So again, from 1K in around 2015 all the way to 12,000 plus users in 2023, we are delivering, we are growing, and we are experiencing a lot of usage when it comes down to worldwide functionality. 500,000 projects tackled, 12,000 users plus, and 8 million time logs affected. It's great things here. And Mission Control has been on the Salesforce App Exchange since 2012. Again, like I mentioned, 500,000 projects managed over 8 million hours logged. And here's just some names that we've helped support, help grow, and help scale. We do a lot. And these individuals here, they're seeing the fruit of Mission Control's labor. We talk about seeing that benefit, that efficiency, and everything that you're trying to see from that project management tooling. And we're affecting over 25 plus countries and affecting so many different industries, from professional services all the way to management consulting, construction, healthcare, travel. You name it, we can support it, candidly. So again, that's a perk of us being so customizable, adaptable. We can really fit into your business unit and really strive there. So what does Mission Control work on? How do we get our hands on this, right? So Mission Control, again, built natively on Salesforce, so you will need those Salesforce licenses. But great thing is we support so many licenses when it comes down to professional, enterprise, unlimited, performance, Chatter Plus, experience, you name it, we most likely support it. So when we talk about us being really entrenched within that Salesforce ecosystem, we're making sure to be able to support just a wide variety of individuals. So like I mentioned a couple of times, we're native on Salesforce. So that gives us a lot of benefits when we talk about customization. We have custom fields, page layouts, business logic. So when we talk about those automations, those flows to automatically trigger a notification, to send an email, to update some fields, that is all completely doable within Mission Control because it's doable on Salesforce. So point blank, when we think about Mission Control, if it's accomplishable, if you can accomplish it in Salesforce, you can more likely 99% chance you can accomplish it within Mission Control. And that also feeds into integrations as well. So whatever can integrate within Salesforce can integrate within Mission Control. So you don't have to go through the weeds and the whole thought process of, oh, what if this doesn't integrate with Mission Control? No, it does. If it integrates with Salesforce, it integrates with Mission Control. So the benefits of being native on Salesforce: reports and dashboards. You're used to it. within Salesforce. We deliver it within Salesforce, even coming with our own personalized reports and dashboards. We're accessible via Salesforce Mobile, no integration required. We can install and set up in minutes, a familiar user interface within Salesforce, because again, I wish you guys were with me at like a crowd, because that would be my way of saying, if it works on Salesforce, then you guys will chime in and say, it works on Mission Control. Anyways, familiar user interface. And of course, we support Salesforce Classic and Lightning. So for our demonstration today, we're going to focus on two main personas. Ike Emedosi, that is me. I just wanted to pause right there, dramatic effect. Ike Emedosi, that is me, project manager. We're going to focus on creating a project. So the way we're able to create a project is multiple ways. So within Mission Control, there's multiple ways to do multiple things. So whatever is creating a project, multiple ways to do that. Logging time, multiple ways. Completing an action, multiple ways. Logging a risk and issue, multiple ways. The great thing about Mission Control is we know when we're talking about a new system into an organization, it may be adaptability, something that is very, very important. And a lot of different personalities go their own route in terms of accomplishing a certain thing. Within Mission Control, because there's many different ways to complete a single task, do a single thing, or get to the end result, the adoption just feeds into it really, really well. Because, hey, person A and person B might log their time two completely different ways. Guess what? They both log time. Person A and person B might complete actions in two different ways. Guess what? They still completed an action. So whenever we talk about our reports, our dashboarding, because there's so many different ways to get to that one result, it will not mess up your data, your reports and dashboarding. And that's just a great way for Alana, the management team, to get a real nice snapshot of what's going on in the organization and believe it. A lot of times when we talk about reports and our reports and just dashboards as well, is that sometimes the data is wrong. It's not real time, or is it wrong? So you can't trust it, but you can within Mission Control. Of course, we're going to learn we're going to communicate with our team members with notifications and the Salesforce inbuilt messaging system known as Chatter. And like you know, you can use Slack, you can use Outlook within Salesforce, and if that's the case, Mission Control can use that as well. We're going to also see a project timeline via a Gantt chart, and last but not least, we're going to send an invoice via Ike Emedosi, real simply, real easily. For Alana, she's going to view multiple projects at once. She wants to focus on the multitude of things. She wants to make sure that she understands what's going on in the organization and get a quick snapshot there. She can see the team's workload, she can be a scheduler, and she can be able to visualize team data and reports and dashboards. If we have enough time, I will bring in our third persona, which is going to be a team member. And the reason for this team member is we want you to understand that you can see a scaled down view of Mission Control. Like I mentioned earlier, Mission Control does a lot. And when I say that, I mean it. We do a lot, but we're also super customizable. So if it's a point to where some things you don't need to see just yet, hide it from view. Just hide it from view. You still have access to it, but hide it from view until you're ready for it, right? We don't believe in tiers within Mission Control. Hey, if you get the enterprise version, you get these features. If you get the super pro ultimate version, you get these features. No, you buy Mission Control, you get everything at once. If you want to scale down the view, you can, because we're built natively on Salesforce, because we're Mission Control, we're super customizable, and you can kind of scale down that view. And that will be the purpose of the team member persona should we have time. With that being said, hope you are ready. We are about to dive in. Again, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. I will get to it when I can get to it. And let's go ahead and get this ball rolling. So, like I mentioned, this is Mission Control. And if you're utilizing Salesforce, if you're accustomed to Salesforce, you understand that this layout and this user interface is super, super familiar. And I want you to take the best guess why. Because we're built natively on Salesforce. Easy, right? And we want to make sure that the layout and the UI is, really nice and tight. So that way, if you're familiar with Salesforce, you're familiar with Mission Control, and you're not like, oh, what do I do? What's going on here, right? So, but when we talk about the Mission Control console, we're focused on four main pads here. We have the launch pad, which is anything new. You want to launch anything new project, new program, new roles, new risk and issues. That's going to be anything new within the launch pad. If we're currently working on something, we're going to focus on the progress pad, looking at maybe the whiteboard, our timesheets, logging actions, or even logging issues and risk logs on something that's already in flux, a project that's already in flux, right? Management pad is something more so for Ike Emedosi and Alana, the project manager and the management team, because we want to get a high level overview of what's going on and we want to touch base across certain points of different projects. So we want to understand the project overview, maybe a program planner where programs is really just assimilating multiple projects into one program to kind of tidy up the space. Or if we want to understand our timelines and things of that nature, we can look into a Gantt chart. Last but not least, we can look at our control pad, and that's going to unlock more settings within this mission control, within your mission control instance, whether it be sending out a daily digest, giving your team members or some external individuals a delivery time. This one says 7 a.m. So they know, hey, these are some actions that you have assigned to you, and these are some hours you still need to complete, as well as some other settings that you can have unlocked within your mission control instance here, which is great. But like I mentioned earlier, mission control is highly customizable. And if you want to scale some things down or you want to move some things out of view, you absolutely can. And this might be a great way, great place to do this as well. So for me, Ike Emedosi, the project manager, program manager, I want to see all four of these tabs because all four of these tabs are super important to me and I need that access. But let's say we have a team member. So if you have a team member that, doesn't need access to certain things, you can take it from viewability. So where Ike Emedosi, I have access to all of these things. Let's say a team member named Kelly, right? Kelly, maybe she only needs to focus on what's going on and she should only look at the progress pad. So that way, Ike Emedosi has access to all four of these pads, but Kelly, the team member, only has access to the progress pad. So we can limit some view abilities depending on the role of the individuals or the team of the individuals, but also we can also, show as much as we want and hide as much as we want, depending on who you are and what you do. Simple, right? So we'll go ahead and do here. Let's go ahead and just start from opportunity because we know that a project doesn't really start or doesn't really begin until we close win an opportunity. Within mission control, there's a couple of things we can do here. We can have automation to where it says when an opportunity is closed won, I want you to spin out a project request so that way the product team knows, okay, boom, opportunity closed won, let's go ahead and start tackling this project. So that is one way. We can automate an opportunity whenever it's closed won to automatically generate a project request. Right here, I'm going to show the more manual step of what that looks like. So I'm vetting it out real quickly. Perception analysis is that stage we're on. I believe we're going to close win this. So I'll go ahead and vet this out. Something to note here within mission control, again, because it's on Salesforce, if we're on the opportunity page and you want to add more fields or add some certain things within the opportunity page, you absolutely can. It depends on how you want to do how you run your business and how you kind of vet out your opportunities. So real quickly here, I'll say the customer start or the install start date for this opportunity is going to be September 6th. So that means the project start date should be September 6th as well. So whenever we are creating a project from an opportunity, whether it's doing the automation style, the way I mentioned earlier, or more manual, the way I'm doing right now, we're looking at a template. So I have a typical template outlining those typical milestones and actions that are, usual within these type of opportunities. This certain opportunity is a website development opportunity. I have a website build template with the typical milestone and actions associated with it. So that's what it's looking at. It's looking at this template, and then it's saying, okay, this opportunity is correlated to this template, and when it's closed won, we're going to generate a project that follows this template, and it's going to attach to this specific opportunity. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. But right now, what we're going to do is going to go ahead and generate that project. Project start date is going to be 9/6. So let me go ahead and close win this. And we're going to look at this projects right over here to our right. So close one, let's hit save. And let me go ahead and make sure I refresh the page. Let me go ahead and try to spin that again or generate it one more time, because sometimes when you're demoing, it wants to make you look crazy. We'll go ahead and generate this project. And let me try to refresh one more time to see if it's going to push that project in there. And there we have it. So once we hit close one and we hit generate project, we have creating our project mission control website development. And again, it's looking at our template, our website build template. And I'll just go ahead and click on this template so you understand what are those typical actions we would be seeing. We're going to see our design, build, and deliver milestones. And this is, again, part of that template. As you can see, I have placeholder right here for our project managers and placeholder for a project owner. And the reason I'm doing that is as a best practice. And we're going to dive into a lot more later when we look at our scheduler. But just know whenever we create a template, I usually put in placeholder roles because I don't know who's going to do it just yet, but I can really quickly distribute this work and assign this work to the right individuals that I'm comfortable in, I'm confident in, and they do have the capacity. But again, this is our template, and these are our typical milestones: design, build, and deliver. So let's go ahead and dive into said project. We have our mission control website development, and of course, I did a little bit of work in here. So we have 2 actions that have been completed and we're currently in progress. But again, when we were talking about that website template that I utilized here, we see that design, build, and deliver milestones right here. So we copied over that template, and earlier we saw placeholders, but now that I know Ike Emedosi, yours truly, has the capability and capacity to do these things, I'm assigning this project over to him. So Ike Emedosi instead of those placeholder roles. So real quickly here, as a project manager, I know the first thing I want to do is get insights regarding this project. What's going on? How are we performing, right? So we can see quickly that 2 out of 8 actions were 25% done and no overdue actions yet, which is great, but we do have some risk and an issue that is pretty high, making me a little nervous, but we're going to dive into it and see what we can do to remedy that. Right here, we have our CPI and our SPI. Our cost performance index versus our schedule performance index. How is our schedule performing against our actuals or estimations performing against our actuals within cost and scheduling? The closer to 1 and the green it is, the better. The closer to red and far further away from green it is, we're not doing too hot, right? So our cost is doing well. Our performance and schedule isn't too hot, which is unfortunate. And of course, we have our other metrics down below there as well. So moving on to our overview page, just kind of vetting this out a little bit more. As we see here at the very top, we have a path that's kind of defining our different milestones. So we see that this blue one, design is in progress. That way it's blue, but when it's green, we know it's complete, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and dive into said milestones. So our hierarchy here goes from project to milestones to actions. And if you want to get a little bit more granular, you can get down to our checklist items here: contact us page, content page, and home page, if you want to get a little bit more granular there. So we can have checklists under actions that's saying, hey, check off these 3 actions: contact us page, content, and home page. And once you check off those things, we can say that these things are complete. Boom, boom, boom. Shout out to Kelly. Thank you for doing your job. So as you can see here, we are almost complete with this whole milestone. Again, our milestone is in progress still because it's blue, and we can see it's in progress right here. So as soon as we check this off and refresh, this is going to be green. But also what I have for this specific project is I'm invoicing on completion. So it's looking at our milestones. I've decided to invoice whenever this first design milestone is complete. So design is a big lift. I'm going to invoice you there. But then once I'm not going to invoice you on the build milestone, but once we hit the deliver milestone and complete the deliver milestone, I'll send out another invoice on completion. So just to show that there's no billing statements here yet, as you can see, there's no billing events right here. So once I get into this milestone, design milestone, and say, hey, this last step, design frameworks, Ike Emedosi has actually completed. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this action. Oh, not edit, sorry. I'll go ahead and log time against this action. So I'm going to log time and say hours completed 5, and we are 100% done. Lovely, lovely. And let's go ahead and say it's complete, and I'm going to log time. And as you can see, there's a start tracking time button there as well. So if you ever want to just get in here and say, hey, let's start tracking time now, we can do that. So I'm going to edit the milestone, and yep, it's complete now, which is wonderful. So this whole milestone is complete. Let's go ahead and go to our billing. And as you can see, as soon as that milestone hit the complete status, it has sent out an invoice for $6,000. And what this invoice is going to do within Mission Control, we're able to go ahead and denote, or I don't know, record, there we go, record invoices being sent out, drafted, and all that good stuff. But to make the actual transaction, you'll need an accounting software, maybe Accounting Seed, QuickBooks, those type of softwares that you can actually make that transaction. What will happen within Mission Control is we're going to record it. So as you can see here, as I have the draft status. So if I, want to go ahead and submit this, I can just make this into the submit status. And then once it's submitted, it can talk to the Accounting Seed, QuickBooks, or whatever accounting software that you have to make that actual transaction. Once that transaction has occurred, right? You can go ahead and once it's been paid, then it's going to say paid within Mission Control. So I know invoicing was our last step within that slide, but let's go ahead and dive into it right now because it makes sense. So as you can see, we have our billing event. Again, still in draft status, nothing paid just yet. Again, it's going to talk to that Accounting Seed or accounting software that you have to make that transaction happen. But as you can see, we have our PDF here. So our PDF, and now we can look at our wonderful, lovely invoice. You see how I was talking slow? Let's see if I can get it to match the time. Well, right here, we have our invoice, and it's going to let us know that, hey, it's regarding one of these milestones and has been completed. And of course, within an invoice, if you want to customize the PURO, the image, the information here, you can customize all this. Or you can customize this to fit what your business needs or what it needs to look like whenever you're sending out those invoices. But as you can see, once we completed our milestone, we're able to send an invoice off from completion. And of course, we can share this PDF to the right individual as well. So real quickly there, we're able to see how invoice can be created. And I've done that off of milestone completion. What the PDF looks like, again, it's customizable should you want to change some images and some vernacular there. And we're able to send it all off to our customer as well, which is great. So we have our first milestone completed. But let's say we have our next milestone, our next action is build a framework with Joel Parkinson. Unfortunately, Joel has let me know that he alone won't be able to complete this task. So this is when we talk about, distributing the work a little bit more evenly and a little more cleaner. And lucky me, we already have someone that's going to help Joel out, but let's go ahead and walk through that process here. So we can see Joel Parkinson, our developer, has 24 hours assigned to him. I want to go ahead and look at maybe my developer list, and if I want to put a skills, I can, and as well as skill proficiency. How good are you in that certain skill, right? But I'm sure that any of my developers can help tackle on this build action here. So I'll go ahead and look for someone who has availability. And what day is it? The start date is 9/08, which is a Friday, and it's going to end 9/13. So it looks like most everybody has capacity here, but just because Joel kind of let us know that he needs some assistance, I'll go ahead and hit Jordy. But even though, you know what, let me go ahead and delete that, and we do both Jordy and Kai. And let me drag and drop them. So boom, now Jordy and Kai is helping with this. I'll give them both 6 hours apiece so that way they can enjoy their Fridays a little bit early. Nah. Let's give them 8 hours apiece. Sorry, guys. I'm not that friendly. So now everybody has 8 hours and now it's evenly distributed so that for that Friday work, they know that they have to help Jordy out or Joel out to build a framework. So real quickly there, we're able to understand who has the capacity to help Joel out, who is part of the developer team, and who can help out and what day would it take up and how many hours of that day it would take up through that reassignment wizard. And whenever we see this icon here, we know that there's contributors here. I can see that there's split evenly 8 across the board, which is fantastic. And I'll go ahead and say Joel Parkinson has been able to complete 8 hours of his time for Friday. So let's go ahead and mark that as complete, or some of it as complete. So Joel, let's go ahead and log time. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And with that being said, something else to know for this specific project, I have it to where project owner has to, I'm the project owner, by the way, Ike Emedosi. The project owner has to approve the time. So whenever someone logs time, I will have to approve it whenever I go to my calendar. And we can see some have been approved and some are still pending. So let's go ahead and make sure we submit these. So let's go ahead and submit it. So whenever it hits that submitted status, that's when I, on my side, can see it on my timesheet for approving. So it's pending. And then let's say Joe or Jordy and Kai both came in here and said, okay, I'm comfortable with how much time I've logged. So let me go ahead and officially submit it so that way I can see it whenever I need to approve it or not, right? A little bit of backtrack, just to make sure that you understand that financials can be included within mission control. When we're talking about those invoices, that's great as well, but we want to understand our budget and understand what our profit and loss will look like when we include our billable budget versus our cost budget in terms of what's scheduled and completed as well here. So this is where we can log in our expenses, log in any material costs against a project, and maybe even Jordy, Joel, Kai, whoever the case may be, they can come in here and log some expenses. And whenever they log those expenses, we can keep track of that information in totality within the budget tab right here. But also we can look into our expenses to see what expenses was logged. And we can see that Joel Parkinson has logged an expense for $500. So I'm gonna pause right here because there's something to note. This budget tab, that's a lot of high level information regarding financials. Maybe somebody like Joel, Kai, Kelly, those team members don't need access to this. I don't want them to see this. So because they're team members, restrict that access from them. So get rid of this budget, get rid of maybe time logs, get rid of something else. Those things that team members won't need, don't let team members have access to this. And I can show this again for that team member persona, but for Ike Emedosi, project manager, I want to be able to see all these things because all these things are crucial to me and how I run my business. So I want to see all these tabs. But again, a team member, if you don't want them to see it, they don't need to see any of those things. Earlier, though, when we looked at our insights, we saw that there was a risk and issue here. Risk is not a problem, right? Because when a risk is high enough, it can now translate into an issue. And we have two risks right here, one including timeline and one regarding missing parts. So when I dive into our missing parts risk here, I can see that the owner is Joel Parkinson. Remember, Joel Parkinson actually let us know that he doesn't have capacity to do all 24 hours earlier, and that's why we split up the work evenly 8-8-8 between Jordy, Joel, and Kai. This is probably why. So when we look at our risk, we see the timeline. It's affecting that build milestone that we're looking at and the action. And it's looking like it's affecting time. And the best idea here that Joel actually input for us is transfer that assignment. So what I'll go ahead and do, I'll go ahead and shatter Joel. I'll let him know that this has been accomplished. At Joel, my main man, thank you for letting me, can't spell, has been distributed. So awesome. I have now put in a chatter in that Intel Sports messaging tool that, hey, thank you for letting me know, Joel. We have transferred that work over. So now he should get some notification saying, hey, thumbs up, shout out to you. But we also have another risk, which is regarding missing parts, and it's actually increasing. And the risk owner is Julian Wilson. So it looks like this next action within our build milestone is at risk here. And it looks like impact rating is super high. So high that I think it actually became an issue. So when looking at our issue log, we can see, yep, that missing parts risk has officially become an issue, Julian Wilson, and it's been identified today. So it's looking like this might actually push our timeline back just a smidge, which is unfortunate, but at least we know that, hey, this issue has been logged and we know that we have an updated time status here. So something else to note, we're able to push out information regarding a project status report, and that can be done weekly. So whenever we push our status report weekly out, we have the choice to include certain issues and include certain risks or not include those things. The reason being is some risks and issues may be internal, and maybe you don't want the customer to show, you don't want to show the customer just yet. You can keep those risks and issues internally, don't have to showcase these. But for those risks and issues that might actually affect the customer, the timeline, these things, I have individually selected it to be included in our weekly status report. So this will be included in our weekly status report. So whenever I send out that PDF to our customers, they'll have information saying, hey, actually, there's an issue that has pushed our stuff back or pushed the timeline back, unfortunately. So real quickly, before we dive into that timeline and looking to our Gantt chart, we can look at our Kanban view just to get an overall idea of what the status is looking like for our individual actions. Earlier, we saw we've completed a couple things regarding everything in our design frame, design wireframes, UI, and all that good stuff. Awesome. But also we have some things in progress. So we have Jordy, Kai, and Joel on one action that we saw earlier. Let's say we have another action in progress, so that build page content. But unfortunately, we have Lane Beachley who's not unable to do said work. I can go ahead and give that work to somebody else. So let me select let me pick the team that I believe in, and I'll say designers. I'm going to filter all on designers, and it looks like only Lane. So let's go ahead and look at developers as well, or consultants actually, designers and consultants, just in case I need to give this work out to somebody else. Oh, or consultants. Gotta look at the and/or sign. So let's say Bethany Hamilton has the capacity. So I'm going to give that work instead of Lane to Bethany right here, which is great. From here, we're able to accomplish a lot of things within our Kanban. So if I need to, I can go ahead and chatter somebody. From here, actions, log a risk or issue, log time, or even have an action summary, understand what's going on here, which is great. But I'll also kind of change the priority level of things so that way we can see it live within the Gantt chart. So when we talk about our build framework, let's say that this is a high priority. And for our build page content, let's say this is a medium priority. So now that we see we have multiple things in no value and one in high, one in medium. And of course, within Mission Control, that we have an extensive filtering system that we can filter down, whether it be just the task list, the teams, or the action owners. So that way, whatever surface on this whiteboard can be only on what's been filtered across the system. And we can add milestones and actions here as well. We're diving into the Gantt chart. We can see some beautiful things here when we talk about what's going on. So real quickly within this project, we see that we have a progress of 42%, and our first milestone is actually 100% complete, which is awesome. And if we dive in down a little bit deeper, we can see our priority levels as well here. Our checklist values there. But since this whole milestone is complete, let's focus in on the build milestone. Within here, we understand that we're unable to build a page content unless we build our framework. But let's say some things have been pushed back. So we're unable to build a framework until we're done designing, and we can't build our page content until we built our framework. So as you can see, these things are moving around, and we've created some dependencies here, as well as you've seen that we're able to change the priority level where build framework was a high priority and our build page content was a lower priority value. And whenever I move this, everything can move accordingly with it. All right. So a great way for us to create dependencies, and so that way we know that whoever the action owner for build page content, Bethany Hamilton, whenever build framework is done. So let's say Joel Parkson and the contributors are finished building that framework. Once that's done, notification can be sent to Bethany Hamilton saying, hey, we've done a build framework, the action that was dependent on, or we created a dependency with. So now it's your turn, Bethany, to start with that build page contents. And that's wonderful. And we're able to now export this via MS Project, PDF export, CSV, or PNG, and we can go ahead and deliver this information out the way we need to and the way we want to. And of course, should you ever want to work from the Gantt chart, you're able to, when it comes down to adding a milestone, adding actions, but also editing these actions and changing the action owner and maybe requiring some action notes as well. So a lot of things can be done here, as well as logging time from the Gantt chart. One thing to note though, you are unable to, right here, we do not automatically save. It's by design because we understand if you make some changes here, trying to understand what could affect the timeline if I move this, this, and that, we don't want that to save automatically because let's say you get up, get some water, you come back and you say, oh goodness gracious, what's going on with this project? Everything here you need to save or you need to manually save there, okay? So now that we're done with that Ike Emedosi persona, let's go into Alana and let's focus in on all of the projects and everything within Mission Control. So whenever we're looking at the Gantt chart from Alana, the executive team view, we're seeing that, hey, I want to see every single thing. I want to see the timeline of every single project. And again, we can quickly expand on all of these things, but of course, this might seem like a lot at first glance. So let's go quickly collapse these things. And then we're, of course, we can utilize our extensive filtering system to make sure that you're only focused on things that you want to. And I'll focus on project owner, where Ike is the project owner. And now it's going to filter down on everything regarding Ike as the project owner, which is wonderful. Wonderful. All right. But also something to note, which is nice and neat, we're able to create cross-project dependencies. So should you think that, hey, this Hue website build cannot start unless this Rip Curl website build cannot start until we finish the Hue website build. So we can say that once this last action is done, we can now go into the next project here. Snap, crackle, pop, Rice Krispies. And as you can see, these things are connected and dependent on one another. And should I move one thing within the project, it can affect the other project, which is pretty great. So if you ever need to create those cross-product dependencies, that is completely doable. And we're able to really record that, understand that within the Gantt chart here as well. Also, as Alana, we want to understand just our resources and be able to get a nice schedule view of these things, right? See the capacity, utilization, and allocation, as well as seeing who has free space, who doesn't, who do I need to give some more work on, who need I not give any more work to, as well as looking at our placeholders to make sure that, hey, has capacity, I can redistribute some work assigned to our placeholders, right? So within our scheduler, here we have some great information. And honestly, I can show as well, I think Alana actually had a break one of these days. So let's see if we can go back a couple of weeks. So I believe Alana had a break, let's say October 1st, or in August, I apologize. So let's say August 16th. See if we can get that in view. And awesome, there we go. So let's go a little bit further down. So should, for example, anybody, have any PTO like Alana did, it's going to go ahead and showcase within the scheduler. So I understand that, hey, she doesn't have too much free time here, or she doesn't have any free time at all. But again, let's dive into this scheduler portion here. So when we look in our scheduler, we can understand these placeholder roles that I briefly spoke about earlier. So the purpose of placeholder roles, especially, is if we know we need a consultant, if I know I need a designer, developer, whoever the case may be, I know I need these roles, but I don't know the specific individual that has the capacity to do these things. I'm going to assign it to a placeholder just for now. So that way, once I go into the placeholder consultant, I can say, okay, Mick Fanning has a lot of free time. I'm going to give you some work. So Mick now has work on for that day. Let's go ahead and focus on today as well, though. So when we look in today, again, same thing. I know that as a consultant, build page content can be distributed to Mr. Mick Fanning, as well as distribute some of this other work out to individuals. So build framework, I can go ahead and give it to somebody else, just like Bethany Hamilton. And should I want to, help them out a little bit more, I can see quickly by hovering over it, how much hours is scheduled for this specific action. I can see it's around 4 hours. So 4 hours should only take one day. But if I want to be nice, I can say these 4 hours can be completed in 2 days. So I can kind of stretch out the amount of working days it should take to complete a task or an action, which is really, really great. And double clicking onto these actions is going to give me that great action summary. Again, if you want to strip down some of this view and strip down some of these fields, you absolutely can. And of course, this filtering system is great. So I'll go ahead and focus only on designers and maybe even developers. I'll filter down on these two teams so that way I can just view those specific teams. And again, it looks like, for example, Jordy has a lot of allocation and utilization. So I can go ahead and redistribute this work to somebody else that I know has the ability to do these things, right? Which is great. Honestly, if I wanted to give all this work to somebody else, I could, right? Which is pretty awesome. So yeah, when we talk about resourcing, planning, allocating work, understanding the schedule, who has capacity, who doesn't, maybe the hours total, we can do that real quickly and real simply within the scheduler. And if we see someone like Good God, Ike Emedosi on Thursday, the 14th, if I see that as a resource manager, I know that this project planning can be stretched out. It's a 20-hour action that's only in one day. I can go ahead and stretch these out a couple of days where the gray boxes denote either a holiday or a weekend, and we know we don't want to work over the freaking weekend. So there we have it. And like we have in the Gantt chart, by design, this is not saved automatically. We want you to manually save it, but I will not manually save it because that is not what I want to do. All right. Some of the things to keep in mind as along the management team and kind of the resourcing here is we're looking at the role utilization. I'm focusing in on July because I remember July was such a jam-packed month. I want to focus in on maybe there's some things I could have done better as a resourcer and as Alana. I can see how my roles have been utilized and the scheduled performance against their billable performance and see how many hours they've worked against and how much time they have logged against specific actions, specific projects. And as you can see, some of these guys felt the load of working, Excuse me. Some people were really working, and this is good, but to an extent, we want to make sure some of these is kind of dialed back a little bit, right? So when we talk about role utilization, we can get a role utilization report to view this, but also we can look at our resource planner to get an idea of how our resources have been allocated and utilized and who has that capacity. And moving forward, how do we want to kind of distribute work a little bit more evenly, right? Again, we're looking at July because July was such a busy and crucial month for this organization here. So I can dive into Ike Emedosi. It looks like he had one of the best capacity. So his total hours or his total capacity was 168, and we utilized 86.9% of that. Diving into here, we can see all the billable work as well as non-billable, but also see what projects it was that he was working on that took up so much time or how much time it took up per project here. So a great way for a resourcer to get an idea of how the work has been done, spread out, and all that good stuff. So last but not least, we're going to look at our dashboards, reports and dashboards. Something to note that you have that you're pretty much familiar with within Salesforce. Whatever information, whatever data you put into Salesforce can be reported on. If you can report on it, you can create a dashboard from it. So what does that mean with Mission Control? Mission Control is pulling in the project management information, project management data. So now that you have extra data to incorporate into your reports, guess what? You can create a dashboard from it. So alongside with those native things that Mission Control brings into the forefront, that PMO dashboard, the role utilization dashboard, resource planner dashboard, financials, all those good things, we're adding some more things within some pre-built or out of the box reports and dashboards that we're utilizing the generic dashboards within Mission Control to showcase. So again, all that to say, Whatever data you put into Salesforce or Mission Control, you can pull that information out. Mission Control is pulling in the project management data, so now you can pull out project management data, create a report, and export it should you want to. And real quickly, we have hours remaining by role, projects by status, actions and due by date, hours remaining by status. All of these typical important project management dashboards that's going to make your life so much easier. And again, if you want to put this reports and dashboards on the homepage, kind of customize it how you need to, you absolutely can. Again, because it is Salesforce and it's very and extremely customizable. So two things I want to showcase before we just dive right back into that presentation that we had. And again, oh, looks like we have some questions. So good afternoon. Regarding dashboard, is it possible to connect Mission Control dashboards to external BI tools such as BI? Short answer, if you're doing, or database, sorry, the database. So if you're able to do that within Mission Control with Salesforce currently, the answer is yes. If Salesforce can do it, we can do it, essentially. All right, hope that answered your question, Christian. Awesome. So let's go ahead and dive right back into the projects real quickly, because there's two things I would like to showcase. One being that PDF export that I mentioned earlier, and as you can see, the design milestone is complete, which is awesome. Let's go ahead and look into our preview status report. So the preview status report, again, is something that you can go ahead and showcase to your end users, to your customers. So as you can see, this is going to be a weekly status report, and this is highly customizable as well. And it's going to go ahead and show some information that we want to show to the forefront. Project details, our different milestones and actions, and our completion percentages, and some more information. Again, if you want to include risk and issues, maybe even time logs, you're able to do that in the status report here as well, which is great. But also, if you want your customers to have a real-time read-only viewability of things, they can have a client read-only page. And what that's going to do is going to give them a real-time view of what's going on within the project. And again, it's what you want to push out. So if you don't want to incorporate any time logs, don't incorporate time logs. If you don't want to incorporate any risk and issues, you don't need to do that either. So you can have a client read-only page that's going to give you real-time viewability of what's going on within the project. What I'll go ahead and do here is I'm going to refresh that page. And while that's refreshing, I'll go ahead and go into setup. And then we're going to quickly try to look at our users so that way we can see what they see when I was talking about that scaled down viewability that they will be seeing. So let's go ahead and log in as my best mate, my friend, Kelly. She's cool peoples, but let's see what workload she's got going on with her. So let's look up Kelly Slater and, oh, let's see that. Oh, that's still loading. Let's go ahead and log in as Kelly Slater. So within Kelly Slater, what we can do here, we can go ahead and see Mission Control. But let's say Mission Control team member. So this way, this is what Kelly Slater has been assigned to. And as we can see earlier, we had so many tabs up top here, so many tabs, right? For this app, or for the team member role, Kelly Slater, we have restricted all of that information, and she's going to focus solely on what she needs to focus on. And instead of those 4 pads, those launch, progress, management, and control pad, she's only having the progress pad. And when we dive into projects, she's going to focus in on the projects that she has been assigned to. So that's going to be, and she's on a lot of projects, which is really great, which is really nice. When we dive into a Mission Control website build, we're going to see that instead of her having access to those expenses, budget, and all those good things, we have restricted access there as well. So we can really scale down the view for Kelly Slater there and our team members. Unfortunately, this client page is not agreeing with me, but I can go ahead. If you're interested, I can send you a resource of what that client read-only page will look like. So, whew, man, y'all let me talk for so long. I really appreciate it. If there's any questions, start typing away. We have a few more minutes here, so I can go ahead and answer them as they come in. All right. But let's go ahead and close it out. How we support you. So first things first, we're gonna run through three calls, two main ones. One is to be the requirements call, is going to be a discovering your business, understanding your procedures, your sales process, all the good stuff that makes you you. And we're gonna interpretate that and then run into our second demonstration or a second call, which is going to be our personalized demonstration. And we're going to take what you said in that discovery, put it into mission control terms, and then spit it right back out to you. So that way you can visualize how your business would look within mission control. After those two calls, we're probably going to ask for a third call. That third call is going to be the pricing call. That way we can discuss, we can mingle, we can negotiate, we can buddy, we can talk, right? So it's going to be a three call process with the two main ones, discovery and demonstration. And then we can get into pricing after all that is good and understand your business, you understand us a little bit more. Afterwards, should you want to, you can have a 14-day free trial, test some things out, and then we can hop on a sample project call where essentially you guys utilize the 14-day free trial. You said, hey, I've done this, and that. I can get on the call. Did I do these things right? And I'll say no, or I'll say yes. Either way, you're getting some help there and support. And of course, we're going to send you that quick start guide. And should you want to onboard with us and go with us, because Mission Control is a 4.9 App Exchange stars with over 100 reviews, and we have some great clientele and high class customer support. We have our 90-day onboarding plan when we give you the implementation guide, implementation packages from gold, silver, bronze, silver, and gold, or a custom one. And then we can talk about our learning portal. And of course, ongoing support, we have our monthly campfires, first class support, periodic health checks, as well as 3 major releases per year. And like I mentioned earlier, within our pricing system, there's no tiers, there's no silver, gold, super ultimate user. It's all the same $39 user per month. And you get absolutely everything, absolutely everything, absolutely everything. So those releases to come, those patches, all this good stuff is going to be filtered to, or you're going to get. So why Mission Control? We are native to Salesforce, work out of the box, no implementation required. Should you want it, we have it. Like I mentioned, those bronze, silver, and gold packages. We have our learning portal and certifications and global user support, which is ironically how I learned how to use Mission Control, was through our learning portal, our knowledge base, training videos, webinars like this one. And our user support is going to help me out or help anybody whenever you need that help. And of course, we talk about those key impacts, 6,000% return on investment. Just a crazy number to look at, 6,000%, pretty wild. Increase in attributed profit, increase in overall efficiency, and increase in project volume. If you didn't hear me before, I hope you hear and see me now. When I say Mission Control does a lot, I covered, honest to God, maybe like 30% of Mission Control, if that. We do a lot, so we can scale and grow with you. But again, if some of these things that you don't need just yet, scale it back, dial it back, hide it from view. Let's not worried about it. Let's not worry about it just yet. But once you start growing and once you start giving that growth and efficiency that you will see, you can start unlocking those features that you hidden. And we're not ever going to kind of say, hey, you don't have the feature because you didn't pay for it. No, you paid for it. But if you don't need it, you don't need to use it. So here's some GT reviews. Mission Control is mission critical to our success. That guy, I bet, has so many dad jokes that I need to sit down with him because I love that descriptor there. But this is all to say, when we talk about reviews, when we talk about support, when we talk about how we help our end users, we're making sure to do those things. And we're going to see by our reviews from real people and a cloud with a Wi-Fi symbol on it that we mean business, and we're always going to try to give you the best support experience ever. So case study, we have brands research and testing increase 30% by modernizing and consolidating all various tools, having a centralized system, and having an integrated solution for a single source of truth, as well as Cardinal Health, where they were able to improve project visibility, accountability across the organization, improve reporting and customer-facing materials, and create a standardization across the projects using collaborative singular platform. And the features used is to the right when we talk about assignment wizard, resource management, and all of these other stuff. So go ahead and get started, man. If you want to just skip the discovery, skip the demo, and hop into a 14-day free trial, please, by all means, do so. You go to App Exchange right now, type in Mission Control and then click Get It Now, and you can start your 14-day free trial. If you need my assistance, if you need my help, I'm here. I am here. So we can go ahead and contact support, contact me. We can get on a call together and work things through with that 14-day free trial. But with all of that being said, that's the information at the bottom there. If you want to take a picture of it, screenshot it, notate it, type it down, write it down, memorize it. I don't know what other ways you can get that information, but there it is. All I had to say, you let me dance. We laughed, we cried, we smiled, we did it all today in this hour. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Let's see if there's any more questions and answers. Just wanted to say thank you, but I have to drop to eat before next meeting. Lula Wallace, you're right. So, with all that being said, if there's any more questions, hit me. I'll be here for the next 4 minutes. Do a little dancing there. But again, we're going to play Michael Jackson. Any questions? Hit my line. I'm here.